How are you today?
Hello, hello. We are doing great. How are you, Ethan?
Perfect. We would like to start off in the following way. Your North American continent has been going through a period of freezing, of cold. In this time of year, it is very common. We would also add to you the idea of cold being in a certain situation, in a certain place where you're not allowed to travel. It's given you a time and a place for all of you collectively to more act in the idea of solitude, of who you are and what you are, to be able to look at things in a more conscious, open way for those that need it. Just a simple idea for you to ponder going forward.
Thank you, Ethan.
Yes.
We are live now on several channels. I'm not sure how many watching right now, but anyone that needs to be here, I'm sure, is here. Any messages for the viewers right now or for the viewers that will view this a bit later?
Understand that you as a people are going through a transition. You are being shown chaotic images through your electrical media. Remember to come from more of a neutral place and understand that in the coming days ahead, there will be many, many frustrating and sometimes scary incidences happening and events where people may not be coming from a most positive place, that they cannot share who they are and what they are properly. But understand the things that are coming to the surface is who they are, because they are no longer able to hide those things from the world, because you are shifting through higher frequencies, and this thus drives out many of these types of beliefs and ways of being into the public. That is why you are seeing many of these kinds of things happening very regularly over the last few years of your understanding.
Thank you. That's very clear. This morning, I had a chat with an old friend of mine, and he was doing an event supporting children. And some people were very upset because the children, under this flag or not that flag. And to me, it doesn't matter really. Children are children. It's all good. But I think that portrays what you just said, that beliefs are coming out and not may necessarily be attached to reality. Those beliefs seem to be attached to old ideas that no longer serve us or even fit. How long before those beliefs can leave us and be replaced with the ideas of unity?
The idea of unity in the long term will take years to come. Understand you are still going through the process. This is the process. It is not there to shame anyone, but understand the things that are coming to the surface are those things that need to come to the surface. Because if you would like to shift to those higher levels of understanding, those higher frequencies, many of these negative or lower vibrational beliefs are being shown to you.
Thank you. I'm typing in. I'm trying to type in a short of what you say and spread it to the chats under the channels. I think that could be helpful.
Yes.
Ethan, it seemed to be an acceleration of the war drums, whether it's in Russia, Europe, Poland, Germany, Ukraine area there, whether it's Israel, Gaza, whether it's the tip of the Red Sea. Do you believe these things will come to, I don't want to use the word fruition, but would they manifest as more army-led violence, more war, or is it just words to flush it out and we don't have to go through the physical destruction of each other?
It is temporary.
It is temporary.
Know that these are old energies, old ideas. Long term, they cannot sustain themselves because they come from a very negative, low vibrational state, so they are not able to sustain themselves in a long-lasting possible way. This
Right.
is part of the process.
Thank you. With
Your world is going through a transition. Remember this. You don't have to buy completely into the idea that this will last forever and develop into a worldwide conflict that will destroy everyone in nuclear hellfire.
Thank you.
These things will be driven to the surface. You guys, as a people, as a planet, have asked for acceleration for many years and be able to shift into the higher levels of frequency and understanding and how the world functions. This is all part of the process to be able to move into that state.
Thank you. I see, continuing your thought here, I see that the media itself is becoming, or finally put to the stake, put for people to watch, that the media was not true to its journalistic roots, which supposed to be adhering to truth and justice and to really find the truth, but the media is serving various political interests, and doesn't matter, right, left, whatever it is. Do you believe that the internet and the ability of people to communicate to each other directly, despite the censorship, will eventually drive what we know today as corporate media out and replace it with citizen journalism, where information is more available freely from people to people through the internet and all of our devices?
Much of what you have seen with your corporatized media over especially the last 10 years has been mainly propaganda. Many people do not go outside of their news sources, their ways of being and doing, so they don't allow themselves to see the other side. Because when you're right and you've been told you are right no matter what, it is very difficult for anyone to actually look at things that might be contrary to their particular belief systems.
Right.
So this is the very simplistic nature of all of it. You don't have to force the media. And as you just said, the citizen, the personal reporters that would have been in your media years ago, the system is changing. It is growing. It is actually the idea of growth that you're seeing people go around the official channels and be able to spread understanding and ways of being. It's part of the transformation. Remember, shifting up to higher frequencies and higher levels into fourth density and then the fifth density requires transformation. Those systems, while they are evolving and growing and becoming part of your civilization and your culture, develop slowly. For things develop too quickly, they burn out and crash very, very rapidly.
Fair enough. Thank you. You said, contrary to personal belief systems. That is so true. I was speaking with my mother last night, a couple nights ago, whenever that was, and I brought up an idea that I felt was difficult for my mother to comprehend, to the point where she just dismissed the idea altogether. And it's not the first time it happened to me, with other people too, and just not willing to speak to the idea. And even sometime will go on a quote unquote personal attack on myself, which I don't take personally. But just to show you how deeply rooted some ideas communicated by corporate media propaganda are. What would it take for people such as my mother, such as people who all their lives feed and all they know is what corporate media tells them? They have no exposure to internet or to alternative channels that we call X or Twitter or Telegram. All they know is corporate government media. What would it take for them to start seeing the bigger picture?
For these people to actually shift their understanding, where you are, you will be going through a very rapid evolution very soon in the next few years of your time. Understand that you are an example to those that need it. You are planting seeds. And take this with a grain of salt, take this for what it's worth. Don't care. Don't give two shits about whether or not another person believes what you believe. Share the information so that one day it will grow to a point where it flowers in their mind, where they have the understanding, where they are able to share and come back to you eventually and say, "You're right."
Okay, thank you. I've heard.
Plants don't grow overnight, and don't expect the information or the ability for people to accept those things that are contrary to what their belief systems to flower immediately.
Very good, thank you. In the last couple weeks, I've heard quite a few channelers, not this particular channel, but others I've been watching, speaking of a mass awakening triggered by sort of an event. It could be a solar flare of sorts. It could be some new type of virus or lockdown with or without a virus. It could be a massive sighting, even larger than the one from Miami. Do you foresee an event that would trigger mass awakening, or do you think it's just going to be a natural process as more and more people exposed to the ultimate truth of the unity of the universe, that they will come closer to the truth?
You are going through the process right now of acceleration. It will be the event you are speaking of will be in a culmination of the process that you are going through and have been going through for many years, but you are now at the point of acceleration. So you are seeing more of these kind of events happening, and you are able to witness and be cognizant because you as a people have shifted to a level where you are being able to recognize and see the things that are already there, just slightly shifted out of your dimension. So this is what we would say the mass sighting of the event that you are speaking of, that is still a few years away, is a culmination of the acceleration that you have been shifting through for the last many years of your time and understanding.
Mass sighting. Okay. Ethan, when you speak of the mass sighting, I recall that the Bashar also mentioned simultaneous planetary landing of hundreds of crafts. Is this what we're looking at?
That is many years down the road. More of the idea, it will be done in such a way that they cannot deny the existence of us or other beings like us.
Thank you. The Miami episode was one of those, showing a bit of a mass sighting kind of thing.
It was more the idea that there are dimensions around you and beings around you all the time that do not necessarily conform to your understanding. That was more of a multidimensional event to show you in a more physicalized way that there are many things around you all the time. That is much less of a ship and more of the idea of a dimensional shift that was showing the energy of that particular portal in that area.
Thank you. I honestly am not sure that I understand everything that you said.
There is a particular portal in that location that is centered around the idea of greed, the idea of consumption. The beings that were reflected in that particular location are a reflection of the energy of that particular portal that was of a lower vibration. But because you are shifting to higher frequencies, and to the point where you can actually perceive those things, you are now starting to see the physicalized forms of those beings that live in that particular vortex.
Right. So it happened in the mall because that's consuming. Mall
Yeah,
represents consuming.
agreed.
Oh, right. 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 Okay. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Energetically, that is the energy of that particular portal.
Right. Okay. Good. Ethan, I'm going to share screen here with this orb that we've seen. Let me see if I can do that. The channel and I were looking at this previous. Wonder if we can see it. I'm sharing a screen here of sort of an orb floating around.
Yes.
Would you be able to tell us what we're looking at here?
That particular object is a probe. It is
Oh,
not consciousness in the way you understand it. The way we understand how to use those objects energetically to scan areas in order to receive information and data to determine what is happening. You have the ideas of drones, correct?
yes.
Things that can go around scanning and looking things and videoing a whole area. That's what
Yeah.
we use these things for. Except they are much more complicated and able to take more on many different frequency levels because it was viewed through an infrared lens at night. It was able to perceive it because many of these kind of objects are slightly shifted out of your reality, out of your dimension, so you're able to actually see them.
Right. Can you tell me what this object is made of and where did it come from?
It is more the idea of consciousness, more the idea of energy, because we are not completely physical in nature. So most of our technology has shifted in this particular direction. So it is not physical in that way that you would understand, but it is able to scan because also our ships themselves are physicalized consciousness as well. So much of our technology has shifted in that direction.
Right. Is this an Essessani probe?
No, it is a very common technology that has been shared among our alliance, but that particular probe is not Essessani.
Right. So it could come from various crafts. This thing.
Yes.
Okay. I have a couple questions here. Who is writing? Okay. Let me see. Mary, I'm not sure. I'm going to take this probe, take this off. Okay. See if I understand this. 1 second, please. Mary, I'm not. I don't understand your question. You may want to rephrase it, but I will continue with another question. Um, with regards, Ethan, with regards to first contact, are we still more or less on the trajectory for the year 2027?
Yes.
We are. Okay, good.
The fact that you are seeing more of these kind of things happening more consistently should tell you that that is happening. The chaos that you are and have been experiencing for years now, this is part of the process. This is closer to the point of open contact, but this is still part of the process. It may seem like the world is falling apart around you, but this is part of the process of purging those old negative outdated beliefs and those old negative ways of seeing the world through corruption and greed and the idea that you need to dominate others.
Right. Thank you. There are a couple questions here that I do not understand. I'll read them. If you understand them, please respond. This is from Kuro. When the moon evil satellite is when is the moon evil satellite is going to shut down collective hypnosis? I guess it's Kuro saying that there's some collective hypnosis coming from the moon.
What is coming from the moon itself is merely an outpost. It is not a satellite. It is not there to control you. The beings that you would interpret as negative have not been allowed to be in orbit around your planet. Much of the hypnosis in that way is actually coming from your own people, because they are still buying into the idea that they need to control you and control the world around them.
I see. And really, you could say that there's a saying: every pot has a lid.
Yes.
So I cannot be controlled unless in some way I'm asking for it. Yeah.
Well, you have to match the vibration energetically of those particular beings, and you are allowing them to convince you of something you already believe.
Thank you. That's great.
So if you don't like the propaganda, you do not like the information you're being served, look at yourself. If you no longer resonate with that particular message, that particular frequency, it will stop showing up in your life.
Right.
You should take these times when these beliefs pop up and show themselves to really look at them. Give yourself a chance to decide whether or not you want to keep looking at them and keep experiencing them in your life. Are they adding to it? Are they subtracting from your life? Are they causing more issues than they're worth? It's your choice. We will never deny you your chance or your ability to look at what your world has to offer.
Thank you. I also heard somewhere, and it might have been through the original raw channelings from the 80s, there was some sort of a grid around the Earth where certain species are not allowed to come in or to interfere. And then I saw somewhere that the grid has been removed. Is any of this correct?
The grid you are referring to is the ley lines. They are energetically aligned lines around your world. That is where you see nodes. That is where you see particularly high vibrations. Usually vortexes appear in those places where the ley lines show themselves.
Are the pyramids, plural, and Stonehenge in the UK, are they on the ley lines?
They are. They are. But the idea of the pyramids around your world act as more, when they are functioning fully and correctly, acts as a balancing mechanism for those particular energetic lines to have a more positively oriented world. But many of those pyramids, those structures, have been decayed over thousands of years.
Right. I saw somewhere that the Giza pyramid, the top was covered with gold, perhaps.
Yes.
Is that correct?
And a particularly strong crystal.
And that helped to get the energies to the level they need to be?
Yes, it acted as an amplifier through the structure of the pyramid and projected it more down fully into the earth itself.
Thank you. And with regards to Stonehenge, what was that used for?
To teach astronomy. It came about during the Atlantean period. That particular location was very remote, away from your world, your cities at that time, and the particular location was so people could actually look at the stars, learn astronomy and the way the stars worked and connect to the planet.
Thank you.
In a more natural way. In a more natural way.
In a more natural way. Thank you. A question from Mary here. I've heard that we humans have had contact with certain extraterrestrials, but can't remember. How could we have already had contact if we weren't yet? If we weren't yet at the right frequency?
The fact that you don't remember is an indicator that you are not at the level to be able to recognize or connect to that experience. Many of the experiences that you have happen in dream time. There have been many physical experiences where you have been shifted into another reality where your mind can't quite comprehend the experiences that you had, so it was deemed more beneficial to forget. There are also species out there like the Thuk. As long as you're looking deep into their eyes, you remember everything. But the moment you look away, you completely forget everything about them. They exist.
What do you call them?
The Thuk.
Thuk. And are they on the planet Earth right now?
No.
No. But if I met one, I would know everything as long as I look in their eyes.
Yes. You would need to record the conversation that you have with them in order to remember any of the information that they give to you.
Okay. So a bit like a dream state.
It would seem to you to be a dream. Many of you have memories that do return to you in dream states, but you just refer to them as dream as they didn't occur.
Right. While we're on the topic of dreams, what exactly is a dream? And how do I know I'm not in the dream right now?
The dream of physical reality, you are in a dream.
What about the dream I have at night?
The dream that you perceive as you wake up out of your sleeping state is more of the idea of your brain trying to reconcile experiences symbolically of an experience you're having on a different level in a different place with many different people that are there to actually help you grow, help you plan out the process that you're going to experience in your waking life.
Thank you. When people tell me they've had guidance in their dream state,
Mm-hmm.
what exactly are they experiencing?
Usually in those cases, they are talking to their guides.
Yeah.
They are being shown this is a potential experience that you could happen if you continue down this path. They are giving you options. They are giving you guidance as to if you go down this path, you're going to have this experience. So this is the translation that you are having of those experiences with those interactions with those beings on that level when you transition and shift back into your physical experience.
I see. Thank you.
Yes.
There is the topic of lucid dreaming, and I believe it means that you could direct yourself in a dream. You know you're in a dream, but you stay in a dream.
Yes.
How could I practice lucid dreaming or have a lucid dream in order for me to know more, remember more, be closer to unity?
Give yourself a symbol that you can focus on, whether it's a feather, a ball. When you see this particular object inside of the dream state, it can be anything. You have seen the idea of Inception as a movie, correct?
Yeah.
Each of those characters, each of those people inside the dream, they had one particular object that allowed them to know they were in that dream state. The idea of this movie was a permission slip to teach you all how to lucid dream.
Very good.
You are all in a dream right now. A dream of physical reality, a dream of your experience of your whole life. There have been many stories of people going into dream states, meeting their wife, their child, their whole life, and then they found out that they were just dreaming. This is in reality more of a connection to a parallel incarnation that you shifted away from, and the memory of that experience is what you call the dream.
Okay, so let me summarize here. I got this. The first thing was to bring an object to the dream, focus on an object. When it appears in a dream, I'll know it's the dream, and it'll help you to evoke the lucidness, so to speak, of the situation.
Yes.
and realize that in the dream, it could be sorting out what happened, or I could actually communicating with guides
Yes. Or many other beings on much higher levels.
or many other beings. Is it possible for me to, I don't know how to say it, set a meeting with another human being? Say, tell my daughter, I'll see you in dreamland. You know, we say that, but to actually have a common dream with another human.
Yes.
It
You
is.
do it all the time. You do it all the time. Many times where you said, I saw you in a dream last night, you probably did actually see them in your dream. You guys came to visit each other to have more communication, saying, hey, let's have this experience when we wake up.
Thank you. I'm going to read the
Or go
question.
visit a loved one. And many of your loved ones that have passed on, this will be how they communicate with you, because there are many, many, many stories of this happening where someone found out that after they woke up that they saw a loved one in a dream, and the loved one came to say goodbye. I'll see you later.
Yes. I'd like to tell you about a series of dreams, and perhaps you can offer some perspective on it.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Um, in my dreams, I was in the foyer, the entrance of a beautiful large home. It's got marble floors, and it's got kind of a spiral stairwell coming in from the top. And I enter with my back to the door, and I guess it's like a nice big double door. And I stand there, and I feel a chill, and I get very, very scared, and I feel that there's something very scary and chilly coming down the stairwell. Okay, and I wake up in fear and cold sweat, and this keeps happening. And I tell myself, next time in a dream, I'll try to fight this thing. So I try to fight it, but I feel like I'm barely moving, like moving through water or through oil. And I try to bring a knife, and I try to bring a stick, and this goes on over several dreams or weeks, I'm not sure. And one day, that very, very scary thing comes down, kind of floating down the stairwell. I cannot see its face. It kind of reminds me of the movies when they play chess with the devil. Um, what's his name? I forget, but it's from way back. And then the one time the thing comes down, and I pull up a handgun in the dream, and I shoot it, and the thing goes away, and suddenly I know everything. I just knew everything. Everything made sense to me, and the dream was over, and I never made it to that dream again. What was that process?
You are interacting with your higher self on that higher level. You are fighting yourself. Moving into the larger space, the larger way of understanding awareness of your particular energy, you are fighting that understanding. You are fighting that level.
Hmm.
You're being given a chance to decide how you would like to interact with yourself on that level.
So in a way, I have to kill the old scary self in order to be open to understanding of all there is.
Yes.
Ah, thank you.
Understand that these things are not actually as scary when you finally face them. The expanded awareness that comes from being in that state, in that way of being, is freeing.
Right.
Understand that these are just part of who you are.
Thank you. I have some questions from the stream here. A question from Funny Sigma. Have chemtrails stopped? If not, when?
Much of what you refer to as chemtrails are still continuing for the time being. Most of the funding that was leading that particular project has gone away. The intent behind the initial use of chemtrails was not necessarily positive. That is why you had seen them all around your world. But that, as you are shifting into the higher frequencies and the higher understanding of how to connect to your world, will cease. For the time being, they are still continuing, and they will continue for sometime, but they are not going to be sustainable.
Thank you. I did notice, I mean, I do see them from the window, not today, but yesterday and the day before quite a bit. And I did notice that beginning October 7th, give or take, when the Israel-Gaza event started, that here in Toronto, Canada, there were no chemtrails for about 2 or 3 weeks. Is that related or connected?
Yes.
It is. So those
they are starting to focus and move in a particular direction that is no longer a priority.
I do see sometimes pictures in the news or news channels from, say, Gaza, and I can see the chemtrails even there. So there's war, and there's planes and radars and everything, and they still manage to send those chemtrails. Obviously, the Air Force knows about it.
Yes.
Well, if the Air Force knows about it and allows it, I could only assume that it's either the Air Force doing it itself or it's with communication and collaboration of the Air Force.
It is the Air Force.
It is the Air Force. Okay.
But understand, these are not going to continue forever.
Yeah.
The intent, the idea to control, the idea to change the way an environment is, because this particular program was conceived in a very fearful state, therefore it spreads that particular vibration, that particular frequency around your world.
Okay.
We tell you these things not to scare you. We tell you these things to remind you to stay and come from all of your experiences from a neutral place and not place particular meaning on them right away. So you're able to be more objective as you move through the next few years of your understanding and time.
Thank you. That does put me at ease. Let me see a question here from Mary. I'll just read it the way it is. If extraterrestrial physical on Earth, what does it do if it is attacked by a human and wants to beat up? How would the extraterrestrial react?
First, many of what you would refer to in interactions you would refer to in that way are not possible. Not with many of the beings that exist and are actually interacting with you. Remember, we can stop you from moving, we can stop you from interacting, and we can sense your intentions even before you could actually interact with us in that way. Or we can merely just shift to another reality, to another place instantaneously.
Right.
We are physical in nature, but we wouldn't allow you because we could sense long before you ever potentially coming to harm us for those kind of interactions to actually happen. Because we are telepathic in nature.
Right.
Yes.
Fair enough. And nonetheless, there has been reports, which I cannot verify for myself, about various UFOs, saucers, ships crashing, and sometimes the inhabitants of these crafts taken, I guess, by the American government. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
They have crashed?
Yes. Much of your technology as it was developing, we needed to actually adapt our technology because most of the way your technology was attuned to in those times, and they still do happen via atmospheric interactions with electrical fields, our craft do crash from time to time.
What happened at Roswell?
There was a particularly strong storm in that area at that time because you were going through the idea of your nuclear testing. We were at that time scanning and observing the actual area. This was also much earlier in the hybridization program. So the bodies that were recovered, because this was closer to the start of the interactions that the United States government and your governments around the world started having more physical interaction with us.
Is it correct that, if I remember correctly, there were 3 or 4 inhabitants, and maybe 2 of them were taken alive to a U.S. military base deep underground? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Were those entities released?
They lived for a time and then they shifted and transitioned.
There was a person, I saw a video that claims that he had daily talks with one of the inhabitants of the ships, and he learned a lot. And he said that one time he jumps on the entity,
Yes.
and when he jumped on it, the entity was able to psychically transfer a whole load of information to that person. Are you familiar with that story?
Yes. What do you think I am doing through the channel right now?
Right. That was more of a very swift and somewhat violent event. Here we're very peaceful and doing it without
Yes,
any hazmat suits.
that is why we are doing it this way. That is why we communicate through channels, and we have been, and you have been seeing an acceleration around your world about these sort of experiences happening much more regularly for the people of your planet.
Thank you. There was a guy from Israel named Haim Eshed. He must be in his late 80s now, and I've never heard of him before. But in the interview, he said that he was the head of the Israeli Space Agency, and he claimed that the Israeli government and the American government have direct contact with extraterrestrial entities.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Could you elaborate a bit about what that contact entails, and what's the type of relationship that has been formed, and why with these governments and not others?
Because these are a stronger secretive state. These are your ability to decide what you want on your world. Because the time period in which those particular exchanges were happening were more secretive, because it was necessary, because we have and do have the ability to look into other realities to see if we just showed ourselves to you, whether you would go into chaos and you would destroy yourself. It was deemed necessary at that time, and it's becoming less and less necessary for us to introduce ourselves in a more gradual way over the last 70 years of your time.
Yes, thank you. There's an interesting question from Kuro here. Essessanis guide humans, but who guide Essessani?
Sirius. The beings around in this Sirius star, they are acting as our guides as we are shifting up to the level where they used to exist. We have shifted to more of that system and that more level of consciousness.
Thank you. And you mentioned the Essessani came about approximately 10,000 years ago, if I remember correctly.
We have been around for 10,000 years, but in your estimation of understanding, we have not been created yet. In your reality, we are from a slightly different parallel reality.
Thank you. And you mentioned there was an Essessani female that brought some sort of a instant awakening to the Essessani.
Yes.
Could you tell me more about that, please?
She lived for 3 days, and she instantaneously connected our entire civilization and every being. Chikani.
Chicani?
Chicani.
Chicani.
This was the being that was born for 3 days and then transitioned. But in the awakening, the birth of that particular being, it connected all of our people simultaneously around our entire planet and connected us to be able to talk and speak and communicate in an open, honest, and energetically connected state to where we are fully telepathic. We can speak some, but most of our interactions are telepathic, much in the way that I am speaking through the channel right now. We are making this connection through him to be able to speak to you, because this is the most efficient translation device or method for your people.
Thank you. And this being, it manifested in a body, semi-quasi-physical like yours?
No, at that point, we had not completely transitioned to the idea of quasi-physicalness. It woke us up out of the dream. It was this moment in our history that we were able to shift away and start shifting away to the idea of being quasi-physical.
Okay. Do you foresee a similar event for the human race where one being comes and awakens everyone simultaneously?
Yes, but this is many years down your understanding of time. This is not any time in any one of your people who live currently's lifetime.
Right. Fair enough. Thank you. Question from Mary here. About my question about food, Ethium said in the last live channeling that our food consumes us. That our food consume us too, like us. How? Mention what that do to us? Okay, I think what Mary is asking is, you've mentioned that there's a mutual consumption between the food and ourselves. What does it do to us? What is the relationship between the food you eat and who consumes who?
It is simultaneously, it was energetically speaking. It is not physically speaking. But remember, you are part of the food chain on your planet. When you die, you return to the soil.
Right.
You become food for the bugs. You consume the world around you, but the world around you also consumes you. As you breathe, as you exist, as you allow yourself to be in a place where you are open to the world. This is a natural connection for all of you.
Very good, thank you. Kuro is asking here, can you explain what is the ET Federation? And I believe, Ethan, that you refer to yourself as Federation of Light.
Yes. We are a union, much in the same way that you have your United Nations on your planet, but much larger, with more systems, more species, more people that all exist and work in a cohesive, synchronistic manner. We do not come to dominate you. We do not come to destroy you. We come to welcome you.
Thank you. I'm typing this into the chat so it could be preserved there. Could you give me an idea of the size of the Federation, and is the Federation of Light and Federation of Planets is the same thing?
There are different federations, but we are part of the Federation of Light.
How many stars or races would that encompass?
They are currently in our federation, our alliance, 300 different species.
Thank you. You mentioned previously there were about 350 million Essessanis incarnated on Earth, correct?
Yes.
Why would 350 million Essessani souls, which are so much more advanced in relation to us, want to, quote unquote, go back and incarnate as humans, which are much less effective in everything?
because there are many things we can't experience as Essessani. We are also viewing you as family. We are here to assist in your ascension. That is why we incarnate on your planet.
Thank you. Would most of these Essessani beings incarnate at a specific human race or all over, mixed up?
All over.
All over.
It does not require everyone to be concentrated in any one particular place.
Thank you.
Because you have your internet collective, your internet consciousness, you are able to connect over very long distances, much in the way that we connect telepathically.
Right. Right. I see that. Thank you.
We are coming together as a collective when we are doing these transmissions to share ideas and grow. This is also part of the reason why we do these transmissions and why we incarnate.
Thank you. How many incarnated Essessanis as Essessani would be approximately now?
Same.
350 million.
Yes.
And are most living on motherships?
No. We go all over the place. But remember, we are quasi-physical, so we can be anywhere we want. We can be in an energetic state. We can be on a star.
Okay. The various human races, Ethium, the white, the black, Asian, and so on, where do they come from? Were they all created at the same time, or their DNA? Or how do all these races come to be?
There have been genetic alterations to your ancestors in the past, hybridizations that initially created human in the first place. The species that created humans specifically already had genetic material from different extraterrestrial races in them. So when the hybridization happened that created humans to begin with, you had essentially 13 different extraterrestrial races that are expressing themselves in different forms on your planet through various gravitational anomaly, environmental practices, environment themselves that are bringing out different parts of the genetics of those particular beings.
Mm-hmm. Were all the human sub-races created at the same time?
Well, during the process of creating humans in the first place, that with the genetics that were injected into you, there were many different models, many different versions of humans. And the most successful one that was able to actually sustain itself and create a civilization, create the ability for it to exist and survive, is the one that survived.
Fair enough. Thank you. I see online some photos of giant skulls and giant people. Are these real? If they are real, where are these giant human looking like came from?
Some were real. Many of those were Anunnaki who did live here for thousands of years before humans were ever created. But remember, the lifespan of many of those beings, why you do not see many of those types of skeletons that exist on your planet and live on your planet and have been found, is because those beings do live for thousands of years.
You know, in the Bible, it says that a lot of these people in the Bible live for hundreds of years. Some of them have had children at like well over 100. Methuselah, I believe, lived over 900 years.
Yes.
Is that real? Like, did humans used to live that long?
The average lifespan of most humans at the time when they were created was closer to 1,000 years.
How do we get to give or take 80 or 85 years now?
There have been selective changes made in the past that As you lowered your vibration and your frequency as the fall of Atlantis happened, you saw a lessening of your lifespan. As you more live in the present moment, more live consciously, you will see, and this is becoming known to your people, that people will live much, much longer.
Right. So it's not about if someone lives in a blue zone or eat a
No,
certain kind of diet. It's more of their vibration.
more the vibration, the frequency, if they exist at a much higher level. Do not spiritually bypass, do not say, I am better than anyone else,
Right.
but being more natural in form and understanding. Do not allow yourself to fall into the traps of ego that hold you into the negative, lower vibrational state.
Stay in high vibration.
Yes. Because
Thank you.
also, when you stay in that high vibrational state, you will stay younger longer because you are living in the present moment.
Live in the present moment.
Do the things that excite you. Follow your bliss, whatever
Right.
form you need to actually understand and know to live that way.
Thank you. I saw earlier a question. I didn't have time to pull them all up, but some people are concerned about their future jobs because everything is changing. But I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've been telling people is yes, there'll be a lot of changes. I'm probably not gonna be doing what I'm doing now in a couple of years, but it's all good as long as you can just find how you can make a contribution and add value to other people's life.
Yes.
Yes.
When you automatically bring value to the world, bring a product that people want to buy, you'll always have money.
Thank you. Another question from Kuro here. Who are the ETs whom helped Hitler, like the Vril Society?
The beings that you are referring to that helped during that particular time period, and they were actually punished, per se, were the Nordic whites, the Nordic Palladians.
Did the Nazis actually have saucer-like crafts?
Yes.
They did.
Some technology was given to them. Not all, but some technology was given to them.
Right. Any of these crafts exist now?
No,
No.
they were dismantled.
Okay. And the crafts that Bob Lazar speaks of at Area 51 and S4, do those exist still?
Yes, but they are no longer used. Those were craft that were given to them. Because remember, much of our technology, because you are not at a point where you can actually properly use them fully,
Mm-hmm.
the technology is way too advanced for you, especially at that time, for you to be able to understand how to use it. Because if you do not understand how to use a computer, it's just a box.
Yes. Fair enough. Thank you.
And remember that our ships themselves are physicalized consciousness, so you wouldn't be able to pilot them anyways.
Right. Right. Thank you. Jump in here to a question from Mary. It's a totally different subject. Why do we stretch in the morning? What happens to us and our bodies while we do this?
You are allowing your body to wake up. You are allowing yourself to start the day with a higher frequency and a higher vibration to allow yourself to be able to start the day off right. To be in a proper state of being so you can carry that through with you throughout the rest of the day.
Ethan, would you like to recommend a waking routine or of some sorts?
Listen to what your body has to tell you. Listen to what your body needs to start the day. If it needs to start the day with water, get up and go get a grateful glass of water. It more matters the vibration, the frequency that you put into your food, put into your water, put into the acts that you do.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Let's see what else here. Okay. There's one from Funny Sigma. Does Blue Lotus help with lucid dreaming?
No.
No.
If you believe it does, it will. Remember, all things, all people, all situations are all just permission slips.
Right.
If you believe it will help you, it will help you.
Would on continuing with permission slip, would you say that medication like penicillin is also a permission slip?
No, that actually carries a particular vibration that calms down inflammation in the system because it is more extracted from a more natural source. It is used for a particular thing, like infections.
Right.
But the overuse of these particular drugs and particular medicines has made them less effective.
Yes, of course. What is the, besides the physical of consuming clean water and food as much as possible, what would be a mental and emotional practice for us to have in order to keep ourselves in the highest vibes possible, considering we're always bombarded with negative of sorts news and endless stream of negativity from everywhere we go?
Take a lesson from the forest. Breathe. Allow yourself to be in nature and breathe in nature. Allow yourself to be one with that natural state because you will naturally shift back to the idea of who you naturally are when you are in nature. And allow yourself to breathe with the forest.
Thank you. That's very nice. And if you don't have a forest, maybe you can go to the park.
Wherever you feel connected to nature.
Okay, very good. And that is becoming more difficult living in the large mega cities, but there's always a park.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Very good.
But allow yourself to get outside of your cities. Allow yourself to go to a place where you can connect to nature, where you're able to be yourself, be around animals, be around the things that are more naturally you.
Right.
And when you are away out in nature, you will naturally be away from the springs as well.
That's true. 3 days ago, my daughter and I took the subway, which is a primitive mean of transportation in your culture, but it does work. And we went to a park called High Park here in Toronto, which is a large enough park that you can go around without seeing any buildings or hear the highway next door. And
Mm-hmm.
we had a lovely time, although it was cold. We found a whole bunch of ducks living
Yeah.
there still. They haven't, I guess they haven't migrated. And then we had a sighting of a coyote. I couldn't believe it, but there's a coyote walking through the park. Um, I know some cultures look at animals as bringers of messages or entities of a different kind than just an animal. Were those ducks or that coyote in particular carrying any messages, or just happen to be animals we come across?
Both.
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 You're being given a message. It is up to you to look up the message. Look and do your own research. We will give you information. We will share understanding if it cannot come from another source, but we cannot do it for you.
Fair enough. But now that you've mentioned, I'm more curious, and I will look it up.
Yes. Use your curiosity to get ahead. Because usually in many cases, that will be the answer, is to be more curious. Be more curious about who you are, what the world around you is saying to you. If we gave you all of the answers, you would never go look for them yourself. That is why you see many channelers, many people delivering messages, not give you complete information. This makes you get curious and to start asking questions as to, hey, maybe there's something more that I did not hear about in this situation.
Very true. Thank you. There's one more question from Mary, and then I think we'll wrap it up for today.
Yes.
When I look in the mirror, do I connect with reality in the frequency I am at at the moment?
You are more peering into the idea of a portal, a vibrational match to who you are at that time. You are more connecting to another version of yourself that is doing similar things.
There's a practice of somebody told me years ago, but look in the mirror, look in your left eye. Are you familiar with this practice?
Yes.
What does it do?
It allows you to more consciously connect to the other version of yourself, to have more open communication, and to telepathically be able to pass information to yourself and to the other version of you, and for it to pass information to you as well. To have that more open connection to who and what you are.
I see. Does it matter if I look in the left eye or the right eye, or just a mean to focus?
The left eye is more the point. It is more the opening, the portal, the mirror, as it were, for you to have that connection. Because it steps away from the cognitive mind, whereas if you are using the other side of your brain, is more mechanical. This is why you're being told to look in your left eye.
Okay, I want to use the right side of the brain then.
Yes. The
Ah,
more intuitive, the more collective understanding, the more open and free, whereas the left side of your brain is more mechanical in nature.
that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ethium, is there anything I could do for the channel?
You are facilitating the connection to the larger populace beautifully.
Thank you. Is there anything else I can do to facilitate this connection further?
No, you are currently on track and you are currently helping the channel to facilitate his connection to me and share the information that we have to give.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to be working with you, and I thank you and the channel for allowing me to do this.
We bid you good day.
Thank you very much.